Are you building a business in your head but struggling to take real action? You're not lazy. You're just stuck in a cycle. And in this episode, I'm going to teach you how to break free fast because your dream doesn't have time for procrastination. Let's go ahead and get to it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Success Spectrum Podcast. I'm your host, Kadeem McLean, and today we're going to help you break free from procrastination because there's this thing called the Procrastination Loop, which we're going to talk about. And a lot of you might be stuck there. I know for myself, at one point I was, and I might still be in some areas. But one of the things I had to realize for myself is a question I had to ask myself. What's the real reason I'm stuck? And if you're a 9-to-5 entrepreneur, you probably have to ask yourself that same question. For me, what I realized is procrastination does not equal laziness. And so I'm going to share that with you. Procrastination does not equal laziness. It's just fear disguised. And you might be afraid of a few things, right? You might be afraid of failure. You might be afraid of being judged. You might be afraid that you're not good enough to really make this business, this entrepreneur journey, shine the way you see it shining. You might feel like you're not good enough. I know for me, that was part of it. That was a big part of it. So I had to ask myself again, what is the real reason I'm stuck? And as I thought through it, I got to that response or to that answer. Clarity, I feel, is important. And it helped me to get real clear on why I'm procrastinating, right? That I could acknowledge it and accept it and do what I need to do to make an adjustment. And so knowing they say is half the battle, but of course, taking action is where the real results come from. So now that I knew what to do, or rather what the problem was, now it was up to me to break out of that and move forward. And the same thing for you. Once you realize which is your concern in this area, what the reason you're procrastinating, now you can make the adjustment. After you accept it, you can make the adjustment and start to move down this path or this journey and really let your business escalate the way you want it to escalate and elevate. Because all of these things, the fear of not being good enough, the fear of judgment, the fear of failure, all of these things lead to paralysis. Hence you being stuck in this procrastination loop of procrastinating. Now, for 9-to-5 entrepreneurs with a family, this might feel even heavier because you might be thinking about your family, of course, and you might be relying on that stable income, which is the job, your 9-to-5, and have the fear of what if it doesn't work on the entrepreneur side? What if I make the leap and I don't make as much money? And then, my kids have to go without for a while, or my family has to go without. Great news. 9-to-5 entrepreneur. You don't have to leave the job to make your business boom, if you will. To reach certain levels, okay, maybe you can, but you don't have to. So take away that fear because you can continue working your job, your 9-to-5, and let that be the biggest investor for your business. Hope you caught that. So to introduce to you this thing called the procrastination loop, it's you have a dream, and eventually what might happen, especially if you've got negative people around you, family, friends, and it's not necessarily that they're trying to be negative, but again, they project their unbelief onto you, but that might bring you to doubting your dream. And once you doubt it, that sense of doubt creeps in. Now you're going to delay it. You're going to delay going after what you wanted to go after. That delay often leads to distraction, which leads to defeat. And therefore, you're no longer really going to go after that thing because you're just going to continue procrastinating. Let's say, kick the can down the road. You're never going to deal with it. You're never going to go after that thing. Ultimately, you might say, okay, well, that's a failure. Then you go after something new, a new business idea, a new job opportunity that's going to pay you a lot more, whatever the case might be. And this cycle is going to repeat. So that is the procrastination loop. Dream, you start to doubt it. That doubt turns into delay, which turns into dissatisfaction or distraction rather, which turns into defeat. And then of course that process repeats. Think about this like revving an engine for a car while in neutral. All that power is leading you to go nowhere. You're still at a standstill. You're not moving forward, but you feel like you're doing so much work because the engine is working, right? The gas is going through the exhaust, the combustion is happening, but you're not moving forward. There's no real results. That's what is happening here with this procrastination loop. So how do we overcome this? There's a 3-part cure, which I'm going to give you right now. Step 1 is to install a new trigger. What am I referring to? Let's talk about the habit loop. Because again, we talked about the procrastination loop, and procrastination is really a habit. How do you break free of that? This 3-step cure right here. One, install a new trigger or a new cue. And what is a cue? The cue is really, or the trigger is what kicks off a habit. So when you kick off this habit, it's because you typically have the same cue or trigger, which leads to you doing the same routine, which leads to the same reward, it's called, right? For example, you might get home after work and your routine might be to go to the fridge, crack a beer open, right? And to sit in front of the TV, and the trigger is 4 p.m. or 5 p.m., whatever time you finish work, right? Stepping in through your door at home. And then that starts the whole routine of go to the fridge, get a beverage, sit on that couch and watch TV. No shade, no shame, but that might be the trigger, just to give you an example. The reward, you might feel comfortable, you might feel relaxed, you get to, let's say, de-stress or decompress rather after work. Just an example, maybe a poor one, but that's the habit loop. Now, the procrastination loop works in very much the same way. What is your trigger? What is your cue? I'm not sure. You have to figure that out for yourself. But the cue could be, I have this idea, right? I have this dream, and then I have some pushback from people, family members, friends. They give you some doubt, and then you take on that doubt, which leads again to the other pieces, the delay, the distraction, and ultimately the defeat. So when you replace it with a new cue, a new trigger, an example could be time blocking. If you finish work at 4 or 5 and you prefer to work after hours, okay, great. Your time block could be 7 to 9 or 6 to 8, where you block this 2 hours of time to work specifically on your business. And it needs to be refined. You can't just say business hours. No, we got to say what we're doing in those hours, right? If that doesn't work for you, okay, great. 5 to 7 a.m., 4 to 6 a.m., whatever time works for you, block it. And once that time comes, it's in your calendar. That is your cue, your trigger to start this routine of working on your business. Not working in your business, because we can get lost in that, the busy work, but working in your business, right? Working on your business. Another example could be your alarm clock, your coffee mug. Every time you pour coffee into your mug, the next thing you do in the morning is you go sit down at that computer desk, pull out your laptop or whatever device you have to start working on your business, your notebook, your pen, whatever it might be, to start working on the important pieces of your business. Because we don't want to do all the background work, spend hours doing that, and no real results are coming. We want to make sure we're getting tangible results. So that is an example of some of the triggers or cues that we can use to replace this procrastination loop and fill it with something good, a good habit. These cues will trigger your CEO hours, right? The time where you're working on those important tasks that bring in the tangible results, whatever that might be for your business, right? Oftentimes, of course, it's money. So that could bring in the money, that could bring in the clients, the customers, whatever it might be for you. Start with just 15 minutes for this, right? And the reason I say that is because when you start with something so huge, which really kind of ties into step 2, it might throw you off. Your brain might kind of go against it. We'll talk a little bit about that, but momentum matters, right? Momentum matters more than the time which you put into it. If you say 2 hours, you might not do it. If you say 15, it's a lot easier to digest. And it's important to schedule it. Put it on your calendar. Put on your agenda if you go by an agenda. Because if it's not scheduled, it's just a wish, and it may never get done. I wrote a book for you, and it's called Wings of Abundance, your strategic guide to uplift and empower you to financial overflow. What this book talks about is, one thing I like to talk about is the financial map. There's 2 points on any map. One is where you are, and the next one is where you want to go. This book, this strategic guide, will help you to determine where you are and where you want to go, and will also help you to bridge the gap. We talk about money mindset. We talk about the application of all the information that you know about finances and all the information that's in this book for you. There's resources in the back of the book. There's bonus information in there. We talk about how to overcome debt, how to build wealth, generational wealth. There's so many different strategies in here that you can utilize for yourself to get you to where you want to be financially. So again, if this is something that sounds interesting to you or anybody you know, because it's written in a language that even teenagers could read it, go ahead and click that link in the description and get yourself a copy. So step 2, I kind of talked about a little bit, but it's to shrink the task. Shrink the task. This is step 2 in the 3 cure process to overcome that procrastination loop. What are you looking at in terms of this task that you've got to accomplish? Is it just, let me build my business? Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying, let me create this blog post And not even that, let's even go further, right? Break it down to the ridiculous, because if you just say, let me create this outline with 3 points for the blog post, that's a lot simpler as opposed to let me create this whole blog, this blog post, because the blog post might take you 2 hours to do, but creating that outline might take you 15 minutes with the 3 points on it. So naturally, when your brain looks at that 2 hours, it's going to say, listen, that's a lot of work. I'm going to resist that. But if it says 15 minutes, oh yeah, we can do that. No problem. That's easy, right? That's light work. We can get that done. Now, as an example for this, the minimal viable task. When I started, at one point in my life, I wasn't really reading too much, right? But every time I looked at the book, whatever book I was reading, I would tell myself I want to sit down for 20 to 45 minutes and just read. I want to read a chapter. I want to just read, right? And I would pick up the book. And within a short span of time, my eyes would be closing. They just got super heavy. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Now, once I told myself, okay, let me just read for 5 minutes, or let me just read 3 pages, it was so much easier. My brain and my body did not resist that as much as it did the 20 to 45 minutes or the 1 chapter. And so that's where I started. I started, 3 pages or 5 minutes, and I sat there and I read. Now, here's the key. I started with the MVT, the minimal viable task. And however, I didn't just read the 3 pages or for the 5 minutes. If I set the 5-minute timer, my alarm went off, I would shut my alarm off and I would keep reading. And I didn't get tired. Why? Because my brain wasn't fighting against that long 20 to 45-minute task. If I set the timer for 5 minutes, like I said, I'd shut it off and I might read for another 5 or 10 minutes. I might read for another 15 minutes or 30 minutes even. So I'm actually going more or longer than I originally wanted to when my eyes were closing, because I'm not making it I'm not adding too much resistance to it. So my brain and body don't resist it. That is the MVT, the minimal viable task. And now, of course, because I started there, I can now sit down and read for 20 minutes, 35 minutes, whatever, and I'm not getting tired. I'm taking in the information and I'm retaining it. So same thing with you is to start with that minimal viable task, whatever that might be. So again, instead of build my business, let me record a 60-second intro reel. Instead of writing the blog post, let me create an outline with 3 bullet points. And here's the thing about this. Small wins lead to big momentum. Small wins lead to big momentum. And it's a psychological battle. That's why I keep saying your mind. Because if your mind, again, looks at this big, long thing, it's going to say, hey, listen, that's a lot of work. I don't know if I want to do all of that. But if it looks at the 10 to 15 minute task, it's okay, yeah, we can definitely take that. We can definitely get that done. 15 minutes, what's that? Right? How many 15-minute blocks are there in the day versus how many 2-hour blocks are there in the day? Right? So again, break it down to the ridiculous. And to kind of emphasize this point, you don't swallow a whole steak. You eat the steak bite by bite, piece by piece. So the same thing we should do with these tasks to start off. Step 3 in this 3-part cure is to time block for overflow. Your schedule, if you're like me, your schedule runs your day. And if your schedule runs your day and you don't have things on your schedule, you're probably never going to get it done. And even if you're not like me and your schedule doesn't particularly run your day, or specifically, I said earlier, if it's not scheduled, it's just a wish. We got to schedule it, put it on there, and time block. Let me specify what time blocking is a little bit. You block a specific amount of hours in the day, or again, minutes, because you might want to start small. And within that time frame, you block everything else out. You are just working on this specific task or in this specific area for that whole 15 minutes, for that whole hour or 2 hours, depending on how much time you block. That is uninterrupted, ideally. Again, you might have kids, situations may come up, but you let the family know. This is my time where I need complete and utter silence, and I'm going to be locked away in my office working on some stuff, right? You need something? Go to mommy. You need something? Go to daddy. Right? This is my time to build our future. That's what this time is for. This is my time block. So you block that time for overflow. Right? And again, even with kids, if you don't want to do it after hours, let's say, during the day when the kids are awake and they're home, you can do it in the morning before they wake up. You can do it on your lunch break. You can do it when the kids go to bed. Right? Again, I'm not trying to disrupt any marriages. That's a conversation you have with your spouse, for sure. Now, the thing about that is your overflow hours, the time that you're blocking, that is your future's priority time. You're not prioritizing the day today. You're prioritizing your future, where you want to be, the lifestyle that you want to have, the lifestyle that you probably promised your spouse. That's what you're building in these hours, because you're an entrepreneur and you're dreaming big. Entrepreneurs don't dream small. You got to dream big, and don't let anybody else minimize your dream. If anything, you should be talking to people that help to expand your dream. So again, these hours you're blocking, they prioritize that future that you want to build and create. It doesn't even have to be every single day. You might block 3 days a week for these time slots. It might be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It might be Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Whatever time you block, it can, let's say 3, again, days a week. It doesn't have to be every single day in the week, but block these hours, because this will help you to reach that overflow and that overflow lifestyle you're aiming to build. One important piece to all of this, because this is information that if you take action on, it can make all the difference. If you don't take action on it, but instead you become an information hoard, you just hoard the information, then it doesn't help you at all. So taking in this information, I know it has helped me, and I'm sharing it with you with the idea and hopes that you take action on it and it helps you, because getting the information is one thing. As we know, if you've been following me for a while, you've been subscribed, you've been returning to listen to these episodes, I appreciate you. And if you've been with me for a while, you've heard me say this: knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge over a consistent time frame, that is power, because that leads to real change. That leads to you from where you are to changing the trajectory of your life to get to where you want to be. Taking in the knowledge and doing nothing with it doesn't help you. As a subscriber to this podcast or a listener to this podcast, I want to give you $30. How am I going to do that? Enter Rakuten. Rakuten is a platform where you can find deals of the week. And on here, it doesn't matter if you're looking for clothes, doesn't matter if you're looking for electronics, services, food, you can get cash back. $30 cash back, rather 30%, 20%, 4%. You can get Dyson, Yeti. I know a lot of us need to file our taxes. Those of us who are late, you can use Intuit TurboTax to file your taxes. Ancestry. There are deals upon deals on here. And here's how it's going to work. I refer you. You click the link in the description. You spend $30 on this platform. Guess what? We both get $30 back. Sounds like a win-win deal, doesn't it? Go ahead and click that link in the description and get yourself your $30. So the time to act on this information is now. Don't procrastinate on it. Sit down, pause this episode, shut it off if you want to, and take out your calendar. Take out a notebook. Change that cue, right? Change that trigger. And then we got to look at, of course, that shrink. What is the MVT, the minimal viable task that you can start working on, that you know that will build over time and compound to get you that major result you're looking for? And then, of course, like I said, take out that schedule and time block. Because without doing that, ultimately, you're leading yourself nowhere. Take action on this information, because every day you delay is one more day of regret. To overcome that, I want to help you and say this to you. People don't fail because they are incapable. They fail because they wait. And if you consistently wait and kick the can down the road, you'll never know. Don't live in potential. Get rid of potential and move. Take action so you can see what you can really do. Don't procrastinate on it. Take action on it. Because if you want overflow, it starts with ownership. You got to own this thing. You got to really say, okay, this is my life. I'm going to own it. I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to let others talk doubt into me and fill me with that doubt and fear. I'm going to pay attention to my dream, and that's my focal point. Let me take action to reach that dream. And listen, if you know you've been stuck in a cycle of procrastination for a while, I'm hosting a free live webinar. I'm teaching you the exact plan that I use to help clients break free into financial overflow while still working a 9-to-5. If that interests you, the link is in the description. Go ahead and click it to get more details and to stay tuned. There is power in being part of a community, right? This is just to close off. There is power in being part of a community that holds you accountable, because without accountability, how are you really going to push forward? You need an accountability group. When you have a gym buddy, it's easier for you to get to the gym as opposed to if you're just doing it on your own. When you go on runs with a running buddy or running partner, it's easier to get on that run because you two can feed off the good energy of one another, as opposed to just you feeding on your own energy and being in your feelings. Therefore, you're not going to go for that run into the gym that day. That's part of what an accountability group does for you. Join the Entrepreneur Freedom Hub. Link is in the description for the Facebook group. And I want you to, again, sign up for this webinar, right? The link is in the description, apexaffiliation.com/system. Check it out, get some more information. And I'm running a campaign over the next few weeks. Already this week, one of them have started. So drop in and get this information. It's a free live webinar. If you know anybody who could benefit from this, it's called the Apex System. We're going to dive into it. Share this with them. Share this episode out with them if you found this valuable, or you know there are people who will find this valuable who it can potentially help. If you know any 9-to-5 entrepreneurs, this is for them. Let me know which of the 3 steps you're committing to today. Drop it in the comments or drop a brain emoji in the comments if you are ready to break free and cure your procrastination, because it really is a sickness. And trust me, we all procrastinate in some areas. Some of us a lot more than others. My previous self, I used to procrastinate a lot more than I do now. I'm being cured of this thing. And these are some of the things that I've done to overcome it. All right. So thanks for stopping by. Kadeem here, and I'll see you in the next one.